I always thought the worst sound in the world was a slammed door. Turns out I was wrong. The sound of people laughing at you right to your face is a hell of a lot worse. And on that freezing October morning, standing in the back alley behind Monroe's grocery, I learned just how cruel a small American town could be. The gossip hit me like a bucket of dirty water. The whispers first, then the snickers, and finally the open mocking, sharp enough to slice through bone. If humiliation had a temperature, it was the icy burn crawling up my spine as I tried to keep my expression neutral. "Eli's knocked up," someone said with a laugh. "Guess Omegas in this town really will spread their legs for anyone. Bet he doesn't even know the father." Their words stung, even when I pretended they didn't. They always stung. I was 21, working 2 jobs, barely paying rent, and doing my best to stay invisible. But there's no staying invisible in a place like Ridgeview, Montana population. Nosy as hell. I kept walking, eyes on the ground, hands stuffed in my jacket pockets. My fingers were cold, trembling. Not from the weather, from fear, because the rumor wasn't wrong. I was pregnant, and every cell in my body screamed to hide it, protect it, cradle the small impossible truth that still didn't feel real to me. Male pregnancies weren't exactly common, even among Omegas. And when they did happen, they painted targets on backs. People liked to pretend they were modern and open-minded, but deep down, this town was stuck in 19-something. And the father, God, even thinking about him made my stomach twist into knots. Lysander Hale, the alpha with the voice that could silence a room. The alpha with the gaze sharp enough to carve open the truth. The alpha I'd been stupid enough to fall for after one reckless night that shouldn't have meant anything. Except it did. At least to me. I pulled my hoodie tighter, rounding the corner toward my apartment complex, 4 floors of chipped paint and creaking stairs, when a hand caught my arm. I stiffened. "Eli?" I didn't need to look. I recognized that voice, the hesitant softness, the concern he always tried to hide. Mason, my best friend since middle school, the only person in Ridgeview who never made me feel like breathing was a crime. He stepped in front of me, brows furrowed. His honey-brown curls were a mess from rushing, and his eyes warm, steady searched my face like he could read the parts one was trying so hard to bury. "Hey," he said quietly. "I heard what they were saying. Are you okay?" A laugh escaped me, bitter, ugly. "Do I look okay?" His jaw clenched. "People here are assholes. Tell me something I don't know." Mason hesitated, then lowered his voice. "Eli, is it true?" My stomach flipped. I swallowed. "I don't want to talk about it." He didn't push. He never did. Mason just nodded slowly, his hand brushing mine for the briefest second comfort without pressure. "You know you can tell me anything," he whispered. I looked away, blinking hard. "Not this." Before he could respond, an engine roared at the end of the street. A sleek black truck rolled into view, too polished, too new, too expensive for this town. Ice flooded my veins. Lysander's truck. No, 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 no. Not now. Not today. But fate didn't ask me for permission. It never had. The truck slowed, then stopped beside us. The door swung open, and out stepped 6 feet 3 inches of controlled danger. Lysander Hale was the kind of man who made the air shift when he moved. He was dressed like he always was, dark jeans, a fitted thermal shirt, jacket half-zipped, hair slightly tousled like the Montana wind itself had fingers. His eyes locked onto me instantly, and the worst part? My stupid heart still skipped. Mason stepped protectively in front of me, but Lysander barely spared him a glance. His attention was razor-focused. "Eli," he said, voice low. My legs went numb. Lysander's tone wasn't angry, wasn't warm either. It was clipped, cold steel. The kind of voice he used when he wanted answers he already knew. "Get in the truck," he said. I blinked. No, his jaw tightened. "We need to talk." "We don't," I shot back, surprising even myself. "We said everything months ago." "No," he said, taking a slow, controlled step forward. "You said we should forget that night." I never agreed. My breath hitched. Mason's posture stiffened. "Maybe now's not the time, Hale." Lysander finally looked at him. It wasn't a glare, just a dismissal. This isn't your business. It is if he doesn't want to go with you, Mason said. Lysander turned back to me, and when he spoke, his voice dropped even lower. You're shaking, he said. You think I don't notice? I swallowed hard. I'm shaking because people won't stop staring and gossiping, and because you're scared, he finished, eyes narrowing slightly. Why? I looked away. If I told him, if he found out. My hand drifted unconsciously toward my stomach, just a small gesture, barely noticeable. Except Lysander noticed everything. His eyes flicked down, stopped, stayed. Time froze. What are you hiding? He asked. My breath stuttered. Nothing. That's a lie. Lysander. Don't, he snapped quietly. Don't lie to me again. His words sliced through my chest. It wasn't fair. He had no right to sound hurt. He wasn't the one carrying a secret inside him. He wasn't the one who woke up every night terrified of the future. He wasn't the one who had everything to lose. I took a step back, and he took one forward. Eli, he said, voice suddenly calmer, almost controlled with effort. Just tell me what's going on. I shook my head. The wind picked up, sending leaves skittering across the pavement. The world felt too loud, too bright, too exposed. Please, he murmured. Please. It was barely a word, but it shattered something in me. Mason's phone rang, then loud, shrill, jarring. He cursed softly, checked the screen, then looked at me apologetically. I have to take this, he said. I'll be right back. I nodded, unable to speak. Mason squeezed my shoulder before stepping away. Suddenly, it was just me and Lysander. The street felt empty, like the town was holding its breath. He watched me. I watched the ground. When he spoke again, his voice was soft. Too soft. They're talking about you. A hollow laugh escaped me. That's nothing new. He didn't smile. Is it true? My pulse thundered. Is what true? That you're pregnant. Air left my lungs all at once. I didn't answer. Couldn't. Lysander's jaw flexed. Eli. I kept my eyes on the pavement. Look at me. I didn't. He stepped closer. So close I could feel the warmth radiating from him. So close I could smell his cedar smoke scent that always made my chest tighten. Eli, he whispered, is it mine? Something inside me cracked. The truth pushed against my teeth. Desperate to be free. Desperate to be heard. Desperate for Simeone Anianito tell me everything would be okay. But fear won. I shook my head. No, I whispered. Lysander went absolutely still, as if the world froze with him. He didn't move, didn't breathe. For a heartbeat, he looked like someone had just taken a bat to his ribs. Then something darkened in his expression. The warmth drained from his eyes. His posture straightened, shoulders hardening. Everything about him shifted. Cold, controlled, alpha. So that's how it is, he said quietly. My throat closed. He nodded once sharp. Final. If that's what you want me to believe, he said. Fine. His next words hit like a slap. But don't expect me to care what happens to you after this. It felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. I'd expected anger, maybe hurt, but indifference, that destroyed me. He stepped back, turned, walked away, and I stood frozen, breath trembling, heart breaking, watching the man I secretly loved walk away from me because I was too afraid to tell him the truth. The truth that the child inside me was absolutely his, and that I wasn't sure how much longer I could keep the secret. The world didn't end when Lysander walked away, but it felt like it did. The cold air rushed in to fill the space he left behind, seeping into my bones like winter come early. I didn't move, couldn't. Every part of me felt numb, as if my body couldn't decide whether to collapse or run after him. His footsteps faded. His truck door opened, slammed. The engine roared. And then he was gone. Just like that. The wind picked up again, lifting dry leaves around my feet. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Car drove by. Life moved on. But I stayed frozen. Eli breathed, except I couldn't. Each inhale stung, shallow and trembling. I pressed a hand to my chest like it could steady me, like I could physically hold myself together. Lysander didn't believe me. No, believed exactly what I told him, that the baby wasn't his. And somehow that hurt even worse. I didn't realize Mason had returned until his hand gently touched my elbow. His voice was soft. Eli, hey, look at me. I blinked and finally met his eyes. His expression tightened instantly, jaw clenching with alarm. What happened? He demanded. You look like you just got hit by a truck. Close enough. I tried to speak, but the words tangled. My throat burned. My eyes stung. I told him, I whispered hoarsely, that it wasn't his. Shock rippled across Mason's face. God, Eli, what was I supposed to say? My voice cracked. You know what he'd do if he knew. This town would explode. His family would lose it. And I broke off, pressing a trembling hand to my stomach. I can't protect myself from all that. And you think lying protects you? He asked quietly. I think. It buys me time. Mason stepped closer, lowering his voice. Lysander doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who gives up easily. He just did, I said bitterly. Mason didn't argue, though the doubt in his eyes was obvious. He slipped an arm around my shoulders and guided me toward the apartment building. Come on. You need to rest. I let him lead me upstairs, my footsteps heavy, my mind a chaotic mess of guilt and fear. The hallway smelled faintly of old carpet and someone's burnt toast. My door creaked when I unlocked it. Everything felt familiar, my sagging couch, my tiny kitchenette, the plant in the window that was somehow still alive, but I felt foreign inside it, like I'd stepped into someone else's life. Mason closed the door behind us, then turned to me with that steady, patient expression he always wore when I was on the verge of falling apart. Sit, he urged. I sank onto the couch, elbows on my knees, head in my hands. Do you want water? He asked. I shook my head. Food. No response. Eli, he murmured, kneeling in front of me. You need to let me help you. A shaky laugh escaped me. You already are. His eyes softened. Then let me help more. I looked at him, really looked at him. The gentle warmth in his eyes. The way he always leaned in like he was anchoring me. Mason had been my constant since we were 13. Since I showed up to school with bruises I couldn't explain, and he quietly sat beside me at lunch without asking questions. He'd been there through everything. Maybe that was the problem. I exhaled slowly. I don't even know where to start. He squeezed my knee gently. Start with how you're feeling right now. Tired, I said. Scared. Hurt. He nodded. What about the baby? A silence hung between us. When I finally spoke, my voice was barely a whisper. I'm terrified. Mason didn't flinch. And you're allowed to be. I don't know how to do this, I said. I don't have money. I don't have support. I barely have a life. You have me. The words hit me harder than he probably meant them to. I swallowed. Mason, you can't. I can, he insisted. You're not alone in this, Eli. Not unless you push me away. God, why did he always make it sound so easy? Like the world wasn't stacked against me. Like I wasn't carrying a secret that could destroy everything if it came out. I leaned back, closing my eyes for a moment. My head throbbed. I can't think right now. Then don't, he said gently. Just breathe. I'll stay as long as you want. He did. Mason sat beside me, not touching, not talking, just present. And for a while that was enough. But peace was never something I got to keep for long. The next morning, Ridgeview woke up buzzing like a hornet's nest. Word traveled fast in this town, faster than truth, faster than common sense. By the time I stepped outside to walk to my shift at Monroe's grocery, whispers had already started. People stared, not subtly. Moms clutching their kids' hands tighter. Old men leaning on their canes a little too long. Teens pretending not to look but absolutely looking. I kept my chin down and walked faster. My shift was hell. Every aisle felt like a spotlight. Every customer seemed to glance at my stomach. Dana, the manager, pulled me aside twice just to give me concerned, looks that were definitely more curiosity than care. By lunch break, my head was pounding. I slipped out the back door, leaning against the brick wall, gulping in breaths of cold air. My hands were shaking again. Rough morning. I flinched so hard my phone nearly slipped from my fingers. The voice was low, warm, slightly amused. Not Lysander, but close enough to make my pulse jump. It was his younger brother Cal Hale. He leaned against the dumpster like he had every right to be there. Tall, handsome in an effortless way, wearing a baseball cap backwards and a jacket pulled over a black hoodie. Cal was everything Lysander wasn't easygoing, charming, the golden boy who made people smile just by existing. And he never talked to me, which made his presence even more unnerving. I swallowed. Hey. He studied me for a moment, eyes thoughtful. You okay? People kept asking me that. People who weren't the one person I needed. I'm fine, I lied. Cal raised an eyebrow. You don't look fine. Thanks, I muttered. He chuckled. Didn't mean it as an insult. I didn't respond. Cal shifted, crossing his arms. Look, my brother's been in a mood since yesterday. My chest tightened. He knows. He won't talk to anyone, Cal continued. Just shut himself in the garage and worked on that damn engine all night. I stared at the ground. That's not my business anymore. Funny, Cal said softly, because he sure looks like it is. I winced. Cal pushed off the dumpster, stepping closer. His voice dropped to something gentler. Eli, he cares about you. I shook my head, throat tight. No, he cared about what he thought happened, not the truth. And what is the truth? My heart stuttered. I didn't answer. Cal didn't push. Instead, he sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, I don't know what's going on between you two, but whatever it is, it's eating him alive. His words cut deep. A fresh wave of guilt washed over me. Cal paused, then added, just think about talking to him. I let out a humorless laugh. It's not that simple. He gave a small smile. With my brother, nothing ever is. Cal stepped back. Break's almost over. Try to stay alive in there. Then he left, hands in his pockets, whistling as he walked away. I stared after him long after he vanished around the corner. Lysander was hurting. Because of me. Because of my lie. And the worst part? It wasn't even the last lie I was going to have to tell. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lysander's face, the way it hardened when I lied, the way something inside him dimmed, the way he walked away like it cost him oxygen to stay near me. By morning, my chest felt bruised from holding everything in. The fog outside clung low to the ground, blurring the small houses and the cracked asphalt of Ridgeview like the whole town was trapped between breaths. I stood by the window, a mug of cold tea in my hands, staring at the world that suddenly felt too small for all the secrets I was carrying. Mason knocked on my door around 8 a.m. When I didn't answer right away, he let himself in with the spare key because of course he did. He found me still by the window, still clutching the mug like it was the only thing keeping me steady. You look like hell, he said gently. Thanks, I muttered. He walked over, took the mug from my hands, and set it down on the table. You need to eat something. I'm not hungry. You still need to eat. His voice wasn't pushy, just steady, reliable. Mason. But I couldn't do the routine today. Couldn't pretend things were normal. Couldn't breathe beneath the weight on my chest. Mason, I whispered. I can't keep doing this. He exhaled slowly. You mean, hiding? I nodded. His eyes softened. Then tell him. I can't. Why? Because he'll want to be involved, I said. And that's the problem. Mason frowned. Why is that a problem? Because if Lysander Hale decides he wants something, he takes it. He storms through every barrier. He doesn't care about rumors or judgment or consequences. He never has. I paused, breath shaking. And I am not strong enough to survive that kind of attention right now. Mason was quiet for a long moment. Eli, he said finally, you think heartache comes from being seen, but the truth is, it's coming from hiding. I swallowed hard. Before I could answer, another knock came at the door. Louder, more impatient. Mason stiffened. Expecting someone? No, he walked over and looked through the peephole. His shoulders tensed. It's him. My stomach dropped. Lysander. Of course it was him. Mason turned back to me, his voice low. Do you want me to tell him to leave? I opened my mouth. Closed it. I didn't know what I wanted. But my silence was enough of an answer. Mason opened the door, stepping half outside, blocking the view of the inside of my apartment. What do you want? Mason demanded. Lysander's voice filtered through cold. Sharp. Move. Not unless you tell me what you're here for. Eli, Lysander called, ignoring him. I know you're there. My heart pounded. Mason looked over his shoulder at me. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. But I did want to. I wanted to see him more than I wanted air. Mason, I whispered. Let him in. Mason hesitated, then stepped aside. Lysander walked in with that same commanding presence that always made the room feel too small. His eyes found me instantly. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept either. His hands were shoved deep into his jacket pockets, knuckles white. He stopped 3 feet in front of me. For a long second, neither of us spoke. Then you lied to me, he said quietly. The words cut clean, without anger, without heat. Just truth. I swallowed. Lysander. You lied, he repeated, voice lower now. And I need to know why. My pulse hammered in my throat. It was the only way to protect the baby. Lysander's eyes flared pain, shock, anger. Something else beneath all that. So it is mine. I looked down. That was answer enough. For a moment, Lysander didn't breathe, didn't move. His world, my world, everything seemed to realign with the weight of the truth. His voice was barely audible when he spoke again. Eli, why would you hide this from me? My chest ached. Because you're... you. He blinked. What does that even mean? You're strong, loud, unstoppable. Whenever you want something, you bulldoze everything in your way to get it. But me, I shook my head. I break too easily. I can't survive that kind of intensity. I can't survive you. For a second, silence filled the room. Then Lysander stepped forward, slowly, carefully, as if approaching a frightened animal. I would never hurt you, he said. You already did. He inhaled sharply. When you walked away, that landed. Lysander's shoulders stiffened, expression cracking with something raw and unpolished beneath his facade. I walked away because you told me the child wasn't mine, he whispered. I thought you wanted me gone. I was scared. So am I, he said. I froze. Lysander Hale, the Ridgeview Alpha. The man who'd stared down wildfires and rescue operations and a dozen life-or-death disasters without blinking, saying he was scared. For weeks, Lysander continued, voice rough. I've been waking up thinking something was wrong, like I'd lost something I didn't know how to name. And when I saw you yesterday, he swallowed. I knew. My breath caught. Lysander's hand lifted, hesitating inches from my cheek as if asking for permission. I didn't pull away. His fingers brushed my skin, warm and trembling. You don't get to face this alone. My eyes burned. I don't know how to let you in. Then let me figure it out with you. I closed my eyes as his forehead touched mine. For the first time in weeks, I breathed. But there was still one thing between us. One truth I'd been too afraid to speak. Lysander, I whispered. The town. They're going to talk. They're already talking. And it won't stop. Not with you. Not with your family name. Not with me being, he cut me off. I don't give a damn about the town. But your father, my father isn't raising this child. I inhaled sharply. His thumb brushed my jaw. I am. The words slammed into me like a heartbeat I didn't know I'd been missing. But before I could answer, Mason cleared his throat, and for the first time, I realized he'd been standing there the entire time, watching everything with that worried, protective look he always had when it came to me. I should give you two some space, Mason said softly. He grabbed his jacket. As he walked past me, he paused, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. You deserve to be happy, he whispered. Don't run from it this time. Then he left. The door clicked shut and Lysander and I were alone. He pulled back just enough to look me in the eyes. Eli, I'm not perfect. I'm stubborn as hell. I get angry. I get impatient. But I don't walk away from the people I care about. His voice thickened. And I care about you. More than I should. More than I know how to handle. My heart clenched. He continued. So if you want me gone, say it. Say the word and I'll leave right now. I stared at him. At the man I'd tried so hard to push away, to protect myself from, to hide the truth from. At the man who still came back anyway. I don't want you to leave, I whispered. Relief crashed across his face like a tidal wave. He pulled me into his arms, warm and solid and grounding, and for the first time in months, I let myself lean into him fully. He didn't rush, didn't squeeze too tight, didn't demand anything. He just held me. Eli, he murmured into my hair. We'll do this together, whatever it takes, whatever it costs. I nodded against his chest. But deep down, a small voice whispered, what if it wasn't the town we needed to fight? What if the real battle was still coming? 3 weeks later, it arrived. Lysander's father found out. He stormed into my workplace, a massive, red-faced man with a voice like thunder and a temper that made grown men duck their heads. He grabbed me by the arm, dragged me out of the store, and demanded answers with the whole damn town watching. Is it my sons? He shouted. You'd better tell me the truth, boy. My fear spiked so hard I nearly fainted. People circled close, whispering, gasping, judging. Then Lysander appeared. He shoved his father back so hard the crowd fell silent. Touch him again and you'll regret it, he growled. The argument exploded. Accusations. Screaming. Years of unresolved bitterness boiled over in the middle of Main Street. But through it all, Lysander never left my side. He kept a hand on my back, shielded me from the town, faced his father with a fury I'd never seen before. And when his father shouted that I was nothing, Lysander thundered back. He's the father of my child. He's my future. And you will not speak about him like that again. The town went dead silent. I stared at Lysander like he wasn't real. He turned to me, then eyes fierce, voice trembling with emotion. Eli, you're not alone. Not anymore. That moment changed everything. The town still whispered. People still stared. But the storm had broken, and I was no longer weathering it by myself. Lysander walked with me through every appointment. He held my hand when nausea hit. He argued with doctors about the best care. He fixed the apartment door, replaced my stove, filled the fridge, drove me everywhere even when I insisted I could walk. He didn't bulldoze me. He learned me, learned how to be gentle when I needed gentle, firm when I needed firm, quiet when I needed silence. Learned that love wasn't a war to win, but a place to return to. And slowly, so slowly, my walls cracked. I let him in. The night I finally told him I loved him, we were sitting on the porch of his house, wrapped in one blanket, listening to crickets in the Montana dark. I whispered it, barely. I love you. He froze, then turned, eyes wide, hopeful in a way that made my heart ache. Say it again, he breathed. I love you, Lysander. He closed his eyes like the words physically hit him, then pulled me gently into his arms, holding me as if I was something fragile and precious and finally his. I love you too, he whispered against my skin. God, Eli, I've been falling in love with you since the first night. And under the stars, with the scent of pine in the cold wind and his hand resting protectively over my stomach, I believed him. For the first time, I believed everything could be okay. 6 months later, when our baby boy was born, Lysander cried first. Not loud, not messy, just silent tears sliding down his face as he held our son like the world began and ended in that hospital room. He kissed my forehead, then kissed our son's tiny hand, and he whispered, I told you. You'd never be alone again. He kept that promise. Every day, every night, every moment after. And I knew no matter how cruel the world could be, no matter how loud the gossip or how harsh the judgment, No matter how terrified I had once been, I had chosen right. I had chosen love. I had chosen him, and he had chosen me. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.